Hello and welcome to the Riff. We've got a great episode for you today. Thanks for tuning in and listening week after week. If you don't already know, you can always submit a question to the podcast at www.northpointchurch.tv/podcast. Drop us a question, drop us a comment, or any feedback you have. We hope these episodes are helpful for you. Well, today we've got a good episode lined up for you. I know we say that every week, but I truly believe it. And today Jeremy's sitting down with a member of North Point staff who's recently announced as our Nixa campus pastor. We want to welcome Jeremy Alvarez to the Riff. Jeremy squared, Jeremy double, whatever you want to call it. They sit down together and have a great conversation of Jeremy's background, how he got involved in church, a bit of his story. I think you're really going to learn something really great from the Jeremys today. Let's dive in.
Hey, welcome to another episode of The Riff, and I am here with my friend, Jeremy Alvarez. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It is exciting. I feel like I'm in rare air.
This is rare air. I don't even know if this is a show. I said welcome to the show. Is that what we call this?
I mean, do we roll credits?
No. But if we start rolling, maybe we will. No, yeah. We should.
Yeah, like the Full House credits.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the best shows, by the way, Full House.
Yeah.
Were the and they were really twins? Or was it the same person? Or am I thinking Parent Trap?
I
don't know.
Twins played one person, right?
Yeah, in one of those.
Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen played Michelle Tanner.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, your Full House.
I do good trivia.
Callback
I do
is
good.
Yeah. Well, if you were not raised in the 80s or a big fan of 80s shows, we want to bring you in too. Jeremy Alvarez, you've been on this team. Today what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about your story.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the Nixa campus and what's going on as well.
My favorite
It
campus.
is your favorite campus?
It is, yeah.
I didn't know we were allowed to have favorites, but you can.
I think I can. Yeah, I think
Okay,
I can.
you can. And we're going to tell about why you can if you don't know Jeremy. Jeremy is our Nixa campus pastor. And so we're going to talk a little bit about your journey here. But if you're just kind of joining us and maybe you've not been around North Point a long time, we're a multi-site church, which means we have opportunities. Currently, we have 4 different campuses that meet on the weekends. And to be able to create a safe place for people to experience Jesus. Our Nixa campus has been going on for many years now. But Jeremy, let's start with you. Let's even go back before the North Point days.
Yeah.
Tell us, what do we need to know about Jeremy Alvarez? Start with birth, end with now, hit all the highlights in between.
All right. I was born at Queen of the Valley Hospital in West.
Well, Queen of the Valley. I had a nickel for every time someone started a story with that. I'd have 5 cents. Where is that?
West Covina, California. So we're talking LA area.
Okay.
I was raised in the Pasadena area, Pasadena, California. So,
home of the Rose Bowl.
Home of the Rose Bowl, yeah.
You ever been to the Rose Bowl?
Not the Rose Bowl game, but I've been there for 4 other games. Yeah, so UCLA football. It's actually there for the Women's World Cup match in '99 when they beat China in the shootout. I was at that match. Yeah. So
Is that like Hope Solo? Was that back or no?
No, that was Brandy Chastain, and
of course it was.
She scored the winning goal. Remember, jersey, overhead thing. Brianna Scurry was the goalkeeper back then.
Okay.
So this was before Hope Solo.
I gotta tell you, Full House in U.S. women's soccer.
Yeah.
Good grief, man!
I got a lot
this already is a wealth of information here. So, did you ever go to the Rose Bowl parade?
We were, it's one of those things like you grow up in the town, and so it's kind of like,
Like Branson shows, if you grew up here, you don't go, but
kind of.
You're from Washington, you go all the time?
Yeah, but I would say I regret not going. I actually, my uncle was taking us all one year, and you got to get up really early to get down there and get a good spot. And so, he's waking us all up to head out, and I was like, it's New Year's Day, I'm sleeping in. So I had a chance, I didn't take it, but now when I watch it with my kids, I regret not going because I can't tell them that I've been there.
Yeah. Well, you can tell them that.
Yeah, I can't, yeah. I've been to the Macy's Day Parade, Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Really?
Yeah, in New York City, yeah.
What? Were you in it or you watched it?
Do I have to tell the truth?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Oh, we were watching it. My dad took us out there for my grandmother's, I think, 75th birthday or something like that.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Grandma Nada. Yeah.
Wow. So born in Covina.
Yeah, born in Covina, raised in Pasadena. We moved to the Midwest when I was in middle school. So I moved to Kansas City in winter.
What brought you all the way out to Kansas City?
So my stepdad was in a commercial kitchen equipment installation, and Kansas City.
Would do commercials for kitchen installers?
No.
Or would install kitchens for commercial places?
Commercial settings,
okay,
yeah.
Because they're two different genres.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, for sure. And so Kansas City and the Midwest were booming at the time, and so that's where the work was. And so instead of traveling back and forth, his vision was that he'd be able to be home more. And we moved there, and the work ended up going east, and so it really didn't become a reality. But that was so that was the catalyst for bringing us out here. But my dad still lived in LA, and so we were back. Me and my sister would go back 3 or 4 times a year. And so definitely consider Southern California our roots, our home. My dad is actually from Panama, and so they immigrated to the States when he was really young. So my grandfather was a jockey, and so he came. Yeah, so that's how my dad's family kind of got here and got to the West Coast, because he was racing at the California racetracks. And then my mom's family, they're from Douglas, Arizona, so right on the border. So right on the border.
Tucson area?
A couple hours from Tucson.
Okay.
And so, but right on the U.S.-Mexico border. So we grew up going there a lot. And so, being in a Midwest city in a mostly white community was brand new to us. And so it was a bit of a culture shock and the weather shock. But we've made the Midwest home. As an adult, I've decided it would be home for me and my family. So moved to Springfield after high school. So through middle school and high school, I was in Kansas City. I moved down here to do an internship. Thought I'd be here for 9 months, but I met Beth, and so we were dated for about 2 years. And no, was it that long? We dated for a year. We knew each other 2 years. And
you never stopped dating. That's a secret.
Yeah, for sure. But she's my first girlfriend.
Really?
And yeah. So I never had the guts to ask anybody out in high school. So I finally mustered up the courage as a young adult. And we were young. I was 20, she was 21, and we were married 8 years before kids came on the scene. Did school here. I did 2 years at a modest size church, James River College, and so
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure. Yeah, a lot of people have, and so it was a great place to grow and learn. Then I had a mentor and professor who. We really had missions was on our heart and our mind. As young adults, it's really something that we wanted to do.
Okay.
And he encouraged me. He said, hey, when you finish here, because so at James River, the degree is 2 years. And so he's like, when you finish here, he's like, I'd encourage you to get a teaching degree as opposed to a pastoral degree. It will open up more doors for you. And so that's what I did. So I went to Missouri State afterward, became a Bear. And
were you the mascot, the Bear?
I didn't make the cut.
Oh,
I didn't.
No, honestly, don't feel bad about it. It's a stringent process.
It is hard. Yeah, it is really hard.
Yeah.
And they let you down easy though.
Yeah.
And they offer you opportunities to be on the list of people to call when they're in a bind. But so I did 2 years at Missouri State. I finished up. I got a history degree, and so I got a degree to teach history. And So
you graduated the degree. Do you go right into then teaching history?
So Beth and I graduated.
Were you married in college?
Yeah. So we both finished college as a married couple. So Beth graduated with a degree in exercise science from Missouri State, and then I followed a year later. I completed my degree, and we just wanted to change the scenery. So we put everything that we could fit into Beth's Chevy Trailblazer, and we drove west. And
that's an appropriately named vehicle to drive west.
It is, yeah. And so we got to Denver, and we stopped there. So we lived in Denver, but it was a huge leap of faith. We knew we were supposed to go there because as we were kind of as we were nearing the end of the college journey, we're like, what do we do next? What do we use these tools that we've gained? What do we go use them for? And so the two things that we had on the table were move to China and teach English and do that whole thing. And, basically, because they pay your housing usually. And then plus you're making some money. And so it's a good...
And you had seen them in the World Cup.
Yes. So I was very familiar. I was very familiar, yeah. And so that was on the table. So it was either China or Denver. And honestly, China would have been easier because they basically on that end set everything up for you.
Okay.
Denver,
that was to go. Denver, you got to find your job.
You got to figure everything out.
Okay.
And so China would have been easier, a lot more miles, but so we drive to Denver and and we're just finished college, so we're just broke. We have nothing, and so. The money that we had to make that move happen was basically money that I got from graduation.
Wow.
And so we're watching every time we fill up the gas tank, on the way there, you're watching your net worth go down by 25%. It's just going straight into the gas tank. But we got there and then we connected with some very dear friends of ours who are church planters in inner city Denver.
Really?
And we had never met them before, but I had called them and said, "Hey, heard about you guys. Would love to meet up." The first time we met, they took us to a Nuggets game, and we've been just dear friends ever since. And so
wow.
We rolled with them for 4 or 5 years, and I was teaching. So I was teaching 7th and 8th grade history. Taught 7th grade for 3 of the years, 8th grade for 1 of the years, and so yeah, it was fun. Beth was running a physical therapy clinic, and then Jude came along, and she decided to stay home when he came around. And so,
yeah.
So yeah.
And now you got Jude and Gabe.
Gabe turns. Jude is 7, and then Gabe actually turns 4 in 2 days. On Friday, he turns 4. So,
wow.
So yeah, and they're in Nixa schools, and so Jude goes to school a block away from where we live, which is awesome. He already walks by himself. He's equipped with a radio, so he
a ham radio, or
so he buzzes in when he gets to the school. He says, "Hey, Dad, I'm at the building," and then say, "All right, buddy, have a great day." And then when he gets out, he lets us know he's on his way home. And so
we did the same thing with our girls when they were in elementary school.
Did you?
So yeah, they walked
Really?
and they had little radios, walkie-talkies.
You're being serious?
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah, it does sound crazy when you hear it, right? Yeah. That's what I was thinking about you. But yeah, we really did.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Here I thought I was the only one. I thought I'd come up with something pretty brilliant.
So we'd have to. Well, no, it is brilliant.
Yeah,
but you just didn't come up with it.
Yeah,
but you'd have we'd have to have the conversations of, listen, turn on the walkie-talkie. It makes us nervous.
Yeah.
Right?
Or hey, when you don't let me know you're there.
We can go off on this.
Yeah.
So, okay, tell me a little bit about going from Covina. You mentioned this. You go to Kansas City and you say, okay, it was predominantly a different culture.
Yeah.
All white culture, predominantly.
Not predominantly.
Which
it was it was.
It was.
Yeah.
So how did that impact you growing up, and what was that like? Because junior high, I can't think
it's hard
of
already.
A more unique time to throw in all of that mix.
Totally.
How did you process that? How did that shape you?
It was the first time that I ever encountered a situation where I was the other. You know what I mean? That's...
I know what you're saying, but I've never experienced that.
Right, yeah. And so, because growing up in Southern California, pretty diverse, I went to school with everybody, basically everybody's represented. And
you spent very little time in those days thinking that you were the other.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
Totally. My next door neighbor and best friend growing up, she's black. A lot of my good friends at school are, Asian or Hispanic. And so we had everything. And so, when I walked into school the first time, I was like, this is different. Plus, got the weather shock. So first day of school, we were scheduled to start school, and it snowed. And we're from Southern California. And so my mom was like, I'm not taking you guys to school in this. So surely they're canceling. But they didn't. And so what we did is we just showed up really late. And so we showed up. Not only am I showing up to school in the middle of the year, I'm showing up to school in the middle of the day. And I should have known better, but I'm in Kansas City, and I'm wearing a Raiders starter jacket walking into school. So it's like I couldn't stick out more. I'm a brown kid in a white school with a buzzed head wearing a Raiders starter jacket. And so like that, it's just like it's like I was asking for it. And so,
you weren't asking for it. That
right.
was just you were.
I wasn't. I was
thinking?
just being me.
Yeah.
I was just being me.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I'm just like, oh yeah, I would coach my child not to do that. So that was and you just kind of scan the room, and you're just like, oh, like this is different. And I was not the only one. We had 2 Asian kids in our grade, and we had a Cuban girl in our
in your grade.
In our grade, and which is I don't know, 100 kids.
Yeah.
So those percentages are pretty low.
Yeah.
So, so processing that, you're young. When middle school, you're pretty young, and so honestly, I've processed more of it in like young adulthood and adulthood than I did back then.
Okay.
And so that's. But it was hard, because you get asked stupid questions, you get called terrible names, like you get things assumed about you. One of the things that I got told a couple weeks or maybe even months down the road was, one of the girls that was a classmate of mine, she was just like, oh, we were totally, when we heard that we had a kid from California coming, like we were totally expecting like this blonde surfer guy, and we got you, and I was like, I don't know how to take that.
Wow.
Like that. So that was. I was like, man, like I'm sorry I didn't meet your expectation. Like, and so, so there was that. And then in high school, I grew up going to Catholic schools. And so in high school, we had some pretty, the diversity improved because where I went to school, and when I went to school was unique in that when I went to school, the Kansas City, Missouri schools were not accredited. And so we had a lot of families that were sending kids from the Missouri side to the Kansas side to our school because private school, like, it doesn't matter, the boundary doesn't matter, and so that's where we gained a lot of diversity in our school from that, like from like the KCMO kids. And when that happened, that's kind of who I gravitated towards, because it's like, oh, like I can blend in with this group, like I don't stand out, and so, but I wasn't living the same experience. I was living in a more affluent suburb where they were more, I don't want to say inner city, but it was just a different, and like it was just different parts of the socioeconomic spectrum. Like, and so, you had it was just a lot more eclectic on the Missouri side. And so, and the Hispanic kids mostly spoke Spanish, and I don't. And so, and that's a tough tension to manage. Wanting to be accepted as fully Hispanic, but not being a Spanish speaker. And so like you're really kind of caught between two worlds. And so yeah, that was tough for me to manage as a teenager, for sure.
Yeah.
And then, to make it all better, I moved to Springfield because it's just
a melting pot.
It's a hotbed of cultural diversity.
Yeah. So, I really do think our university helps, from most places, probably, geographically close to us, is we have more diversity than we naturally would without, a university and whatnot. And so, but at the same time, it's still quite a bit different than California.
Yeah, totally. And I think we're growing. I think we're getting better. I think Springfield as an area is doing more to attract people that come here to study, making it a desirable place to live. Yeah. Even after they graduate. So I think we're doing better. I think it's it's a long game. It's not a short term thing, because even when Beth and I talk about raising our kids, the answer isn't to vacate and go find somewhere with more diversity. The answer for this area is for us to stay. And so that like we can be a presence to make it easier for others that move into the area. And when I see them at the store or the gas station or at the school, like going, or when Jude's walking home from school, it's just like, oh, like, there are dark skinned people here. Like and so that helps, so, it's not always comfortable or easy being, at the front end of it, but it does make it better and easier for our kids and then our kids' kids.
Some of the conversations we've had in the last couple of years have been very helpful for me just to understand is through some of the racial tension over the last couple of years that has really been a spotlight on our news, and a lot of people who don't think about race or racism have been uncomfortable as now they're having to process this. But having these conversations, you've felt this. This is something that you had to feel and live with. How has that impacted you even as an adult?
I think I think it can make you guarded. Yeah. And I try to assume the best of people and of situations.
Right.
So certainly, like I don't want to be I don't want to trend negative in like how I don't want to assume somebody's being racist, or I don't want to assume somebody doesn't like anybody because of a certain ascribed characteristic.
Right.
So I try to assume the best. I've got thick skin, or at least it's gotten thicker as I've gotten older and taken some hits. We desire to protect our kids. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't want my kids to have to face stuff, Jude has said negative things just about his skin tone, and I'm like, where does that come from? Like, did he hear something? Is this something he came up with on his own because, in entertainment or in other things, like he sees mostly lighter skinned people? Or did somebody say something to him and he didn't tell us, but now it's coming out in this way? So we try to put things in front of them where, they can see and celebrate, culture, we love, the couple, great Disney movies have been great for that. Coco is a great one. And the most recent Encanto, that's a great one too. Where we're seeing Hispanic culture celebrated and shared with the world, whereas somebody's experience previously may have just been like the taco truck they frequent, or that was one thing everybody always wants to know when you're the Hispanic guy in the group. Everyone wants to know your take on the authenticity of a certain Mexican restaurant. So I'm just like I love a Taco Bell chalupa as much as the next person.
Very similar Taco Bells as in Covina. Right?
Yeah, they do
Very
great.
Consistent.
They do great with their franchising model. It's pretty much the same from coast to coast. So that's always funny. There's always those idiosyncrasies that come with like being the diversity in the group. Right. People say silly things. It's usually not ill-willed. It's it's usually coming from a place of curiosity. Sometimes ignorance. I think as people, we just have to be good about saying, like, help me understand, help me understand, help me understand your experience and your vantage point. Right. So it's, so, all that to circle back to say, like, man, like at this point in life, it's like I'm looking out for my kids and I'm trying to protect them, and not protect them from things, but prepare them for things. I like that. I think that's, equip them to navigate, the waters, and I think they'll be better for it, for sure. I think our community will be better for it. Yeah, and I love what you said earlier of, any type of tension or lack of diversity, that your approach to that is saying, hey, let's be part of that change. Let's be part of that of solution and exposure, and I appreciate that. I want to ask about your sense of calling, meaning, that can mean a lot of things, I'm sure, but the sense of you're teaching, you get educated to teach.
You grew up going to a Catholic school. Where did faith become like a driving force for you?
Yeah, so I was, I would describe myself as a teenager, a very selfish person. Like everything that I did was for me. Like
I actually asked several of your old classmates, and that's how they described you.
Are they coming in to watch
this is your life.
Yeah, so very selfish person. I was very high strung. I think I carried a lot of anger, and I wore that on just my countenance was just like I had a friend, Steve Rodriguez. Steve, if you're listening, shout out, homie. He's probably not listening.
He probably does. So, we have a large audience.
Yeah. Well, Steve was a large guy.
Okay, that's what I was meaning.
Yeah, okay. So Steve, he was he was tatted up at like 16. So like sophomore in high school, like tats on his forearms, like called him Big Steve or Wody. Like we just like he was a rough dude, but he was funny and he smiled a lot, and he was always cracking jokes. And so he would see me coming down the hallway at school and be like, bro, like, why don't you ever smile? Like, why are you always scowling? And I've never forgotten that. Like, it's like, wow. And so I was just like, man, like, I don't know why I do. But so all that to say, like, I was just like, I was a grumpy Gus as a, as a teenager. Couple things. There were a couple catalysts. So I've got an uncle who loves to travel. He had taken me and my sister to Hawaii when we were in high school.
Is this the commercial kitchen guy?
No. This is well, commercial kitchen was my stepdad.
Oh, that was your dad. Okay,
that was my stepdad. Yeah. Okay. So my uncle Al took me and my sister to Hawaii, and I was so it helped me see like the lighter side of life. Because people on the island are just kind of just carefree, man. I'm on island time, like. But I was always in a hurry. I was always mad. Even as a teenager, like I'd get stuck in traffic and get mad, and be like, why aren't we moving faster? And so I came back from that trip and I was just like, yeah, whatever, man.
Aloha spirit, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And it really was. It really was life changing. As far as that. So just learning to change pace. So I think that kind of opened me up to like, hey, you know what, like. Life does. We don't have to be angry all the time. But then after high school, I was supposed to go to the Marine Corps. I don't know if I've ever told you that. So like I was enlisted. I had a ship date. Like I was 2 months from leaving and going to San Diego for basic training. And a friend of mine invited me to church camp, and so. And this friend was a female, and so like guys do, they when a girl invites them to church camp, they go to church camp. Yeah. So I went, and man, like I had an encounter with God. Like God showed me in radical ways that he loved me, and that I could trust him with my life. I even remember being there because I was out of place. I was not a church kid. Grew up in Catholic schools, but I just did not. We always had our religion classes, and so like I had an understanding of the character of Jesus. Like I knew who Jesus was, but like as far as relationship with Jesus, like that wasn't existent. Like I didn't really know that was an accessible thing, and so And that was more of a me thing than an institution of the Catholic Church thing. That's not my goal is to, say like, Catholics get it wrong. Like they can't have a relationship with Jesus. I don't think that's the case. But that was my case. Right. And so so I go to this church camp and, I'm sitting there, I'm on a bench and I'm praying and I'm like, God, like if you are really there, if you're truly like looking out for me, and you're real and I'm supposed to be here, like just send me like some kind of sign. And then 30 seconds later, this guy named Tim Wilson comes walking up, strikes up a conversation. He's like, hey man, what's your name? It's like, oh, my name's Jeremy Alvarez. Like, he's like, hey, Jeremy, you're on my team this weekend. Like, I'm looking forward to getting to know you. And I was like, oh wow, like this prayer thing works. Like this is cool. And so So I started to just relationship with some of the pastors there with that camp. Just it really kind of it prepared my heart. And then coming out of that camp, you were a camp speaker at one point, so you kind of get the altar call moments, and responded to one, and really just decided that I was gonna surrender my life to Jesus. And I had what I didn't mention earlier is on the way down to the church camp, I had driven my own vehicle. There was a group of us that couldn't go with the buses, and so we had talked to the youth pastor into letting us drive. And so on the way down, I mean, there's a reason why.
There's some contraband in that vehicle.
There's a reason why they don't let the teenagers drive themselves to camp. So I was getting high on the way to church camp.
God's the most high.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the way back, just such a freeing moment.
Wow.
It's like I threw all that out the window. It's probably somewhere in the Clinton area.
Some junior high boy found it. Yeah. Today he's in a prison cell.
Oh no, I feel terrible now. I'm an accessory. So somewhere on Highway 13, I just threw it outside of the road, and it's just like, I want to be free from that. I want to be free from, needing to, basically self-medicate, because that's what it was in my case.
Yeah.
And really from that point forward, because it wasn't long after that I really felt like I would spend my life, in some form or fashion devoted to the gospel.
Yeah.
I just, having not grown up with that personal relationship with Jesus and, being a follower, I just was like, man, I want more people to be. I think that, and that became my motivator. And that's the lens that Beth and I use for every opportunity that we get. It's like, does this enable us to lead people to Jesus? Does that set our family up in a context, in a scenario where we can, where we can share His love and His grace? And, there's not a lot of external motivators that get us going. Like for us, it's that.
Yeah. So, you then dive in. That's when you went to, probably shortly after that, was when you said, hey, where can I go to this Bible college environment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just became something you just surrounded yourself with.
Yeah.
Now, when I first met you, I believe you were working at iPour Life.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a partner organization, over the years with North Point, and you were working with students there, helping students find purpose and function.
Yeah.
And you were attending North Point.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that journey, and it will take a couple minutes here, but how did that journey from, you started going to North Point, started attending, getting involved, and recently we announced that as Brad has transitioned, we had you step up into the role of campus pastor. And that's been a journey. So talk to us a little bit from your perspective what that was like.
So at this point, it's very surreal. I don't know, man. Like God does cool things with our lives and our journeys. But being a part of North Point, being at a church, that was an important thing for us, to be a part of a church that was also supporting the organization I was working for. Because, we were working hard. We were doing hard work, on a daily basis. And actually, that's where I just came from. I went to go see a kid that we had worked with at the hospital, right before coming here. So, so that work is very pastoral in nature. But we loved North Point, from the first weekend that we came. And we were actually in a season where we were church shopping. We were back to the area. So we had moved back to the area, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to land. And we went to check out North Point Nixa, and we didn't leave. And so, got to know Brad over time, and got to know other, obviously other people in the congregation and on the team, and getting to know you, obviously. I don't know if you remember, but we were in a season where we were kind of looking at a couple options for to be in ministry.
You would sit in the second row on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And so we had a conversation. It was like worship had started, and you leaned over. You said, hey, I heard that you're looking. And I heard that you're looking at some pastoral opportunities. And I said, yeah, actually I am. And you said, well, we'd be interested. And could not focus in worship after that. So
you're welcome.
Thank you for that. But yeah, shortly after I came on the team at the Nixa campus.
About 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was about 3.5.
Okay.
3.5 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but North Point has truly been a safe place, and it's been a great place for my boys and for Beth. Like we've just enjoyed it. We love the community nature that we've got going on, because I mentioned that Jude walks to school. So school is a block away for him. Gabe's is a 2-minute drive. The church is a 4-minute drive from home. Beth's work is a 5-minute drive. So we've got a real small town thing going on, which we really like, because I've lived in the LA area, Kansas City area, Denver area. I like this pace. I like the elbow room. Yeah. I like a smaller town environment, and it's we've got a couple campuses that reflect that. Nixa and Republic, both have that one high school community feel, and we talk about that, how that context is unique for our campuses, and so we really enjoy that, and North Point has made such a huge impact on, and that predates me. That's not a me, or like, hey man, like while I've been on the team, like that definitely predates me. Like North Point has had such a significant impact on the Nixa community. Yeah, and
I think it started the day you became the campus pastor. Just claim it. Just claim it.
Oh, I'm sure Brad's gonna leave something on my doorstep.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, and it'll probably be on fire. Yeah.
Well, I think we need to do another episode specifically on what is ahead of us at Nixa. I mean, we've got, we just announced to the Nixa community and our church community that we're launching our building project, which has been going on for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's do another episode, and it'd be fun to maybe get you and Brad on here and talk about what that looks like. What are some specific ways to get involved here at Nixa? Today, I really wanted to just help all of our North Point community. And I love that we have multiple campuses, but sometimes the other campuses don't get a chance to hear some of the stories with some of the team. And I think that's helpful no matter where you're joining us to hear your story. But I've said this to you, and I want to say this about you to our North Point deal of why we said we want you and asked you to lead this campus during this season is you reflect the DNA of who we want to be as followers of Jesus on our team. And you've been on this team for several years, many conversations from many staff. The shared experience is they feel that you reflect the core values of who Jesus is. We know you've served in such a great capacity as a volunteer, as a staff member. During that season, I say brief season, but it probably didn't feel brief for you when it was the interim time, leading the charge, leading the team, just a great way, not knowing if this is gonna, how that's gonna impact your role as we were looking across the nation of, okay, what does the next season look like? Who's gonna lead this? For you to be able to have open hands of you're willing to step into that role, but you're also willing to support the mission, even if that's not the answer. Yeah. Spoke volumes. The way you lead, I think, is a great vehicle that Jesus travels on. I am so thankful that you and Beth are on this team. So thankful that you're stepping into this role for this season. It's going to be a pivotal season, not only for Nixa, but for North Point as a whole. So Jeremy, thank you. I love God's call. I know there are people here, maybe you're parenting a pre-summer camp Jeremy. And really your prayer is God change their life. Yeah. Man, I love that God has transformed your heart. I can't even imagine grumpy Gus Jeremy.
Oh man, he was not pleasant to be around. Like he really wasn't.
I just love Aloha Spirit Jeremy.
Yeah. Oh man, I've got the shirts in the closet to prove it. Yeah.
But thanks for being on the team. And hey, you have been in the Kansas area, Missouri area long enough now to maybe switch teams. So it's a good time.
Yeah, I will tell you this:
to retire the Raiders hat.
We can end on this probably. When I lived in Denver is when they signed Peyton Manning and they got good.
Yeah.
And we moved back here, and then Patrick Mahomes and all that, and I'm just like, man, I cannot escape So
well, you
I
got
don't know.
Derek Carr.
Yeah, maybe I need to move to Vegas so that they win. We start a campus there. So wherever I am, the AFC team is winning. So so we need to change that. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me here, and thanks for having me on the team. I think one of our priorities, Beth and I, is that we would always communicate like our gratitude for you just believing in us and trusting us, and we get to lead our favorite in our favorite community with our favorite church, and that's cool. That's really special. And every morning I wake up recently, I'm just like, am I really, is this really the deal? So thank you.
Absolutely. I love the leadership strategy and the execution that you bring to the table. But obviously you listening today, those of you who are listening, you tell, man, the heart and the vibe and the DNA and the passion for Jesus. It's gonna be great. So, hey, thanks for listening to another episode of The Riff. And sometimes, we go longer than 30, but if you play it on time and a half, we're right on time. So have a great day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. Submit a question for the podcast at northpointchurch.tv/podcast. We'll have a brand new episode every week wherever you find podcasts.